It is 6 p.m. here in Cairo, time for Egypt News, and we start straight away with the main headlines. The World Health Organization Director General hails the Egyptian distinguished efforts in the healthcare. An attack in the occupied West Bank kills one Israeli settler and wounds two others. And Egypt top the medal achievers rankings with 50 medals in the African Games held in Morocco. Welcome back. Following a meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Director General of the World Health Organization Tedros Adhanom held a news conference with the Health Minister Dr. Hala Zayed on the international organization's contribution to the Egyptian efforts in healthcare. At the press conference, Nile TV senior correspondent Taghreed Hussein asked the World Health Organization official about the future cooperation between the World Health Organization and Egypt.
Excellency Dr. Hala Zayed, Excellency Dr. Tedros Adhanom, this is Taghreed Hussein from Nile TV International, and we were really inspired by the passion that you've talked about the success stories in Egypt concerning the health sector and your meeting with His Excellency the President. You talked about more than one success story about eliminating hepatitis C, also talked about the support that has been given by the leadership for the support of women's health in Egypt, and also the early detection of the non-communicable diseases and more. Let me know more about the coordination between the World Health Organization and Egypt in the coming phase, and how are those inspirational stories of Egypt going to be also transcending barriers and reaching Africa? Because it's very important as Egypt chairs the African Union 2019, and we're looking forward to more cooperation in that respect. And also for Her Excellency Dr. Hala Zayed, we're really happy to see this sense of commitment and this sense of support, and also to women's issues and women's health in Egypt, and well, following up on the directives of the President. Sure, there is more good news regarding supporting women's health in Egypt. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. So the first simple act is to document and share and promote what's happening here, and that's exactly what we're doing. I think the word will be out. But in addition to that, there is a commitment from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as President of the African Union to start initiative for Africa, and WHO will cooperate with Egypt to make that happen, and there are countries who have shown interest. And the other platform is, I have already invited His Excellency to speak at the UN General Assembly high-level meeting for universal health coverage. I think that platform will help us inspire leaders to have bold initiatives, because some are worried because of the financial implication, they don't want to start. But of course, they could be inspired by Egypt, which started. It's not because it has a lot of money, but it's because it's committed to keep the health of its society and facing the problem actually head on. So that opportunity will help to inspire his colleagues and friends and the rest of the world, and we will continue to promote what is being done here. The big initiative which started is the insurance, which is almost completed in Port Said, and then we'll move into Ismailia, the Suez Canal, Luxor, and Aswan, and what's the South Sinai. So, Constitution, and that's why I say there is really grand commitment and vision, and this will also be documented, and we will share as we see something to share from the Port Said and the next 5 governorates that will follow until Egypt is fully covered.
And still in Egypt, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli hailed the efforts exerted by the Ministry of Investment and International Cooperation to develop the free zones and to establish new investment zones in line with the modern global standards in a way that facilitates the investors' work. This came during the Prime Minister's meeting with the Minister of Investment and International Cooperation, Dr. Sahar Nasr, on the ministry's preparations to organize the 2019 Africa Conference, which would be held in the new administrative capital. A homemade bomb attack in the occupied West Bank killed one Israeli settler while seriously wounding two others near the Israeli settlement northwest of Ramallah. The Israeli occupation forces said that the attack was probably carried out by the Palestinians. Tension is high in the West Bank with the increased Israeli settlement activities and the violations of Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque. Meanwhile, a Palestinian was wounded by the Israeli occupation forces, which claimed he threw grenades overnight at the Israeli soldiers near the Gaza border. In Sudan, the new Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok continues the consultations to form a new government. Hamdok vowed to make achieving peace and solving the country's economic crisis a priority. Ahead of his swearing-in, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan was sworn in as the leader of the new Sovereign Council that will run the country for 3 years until an election. The Joint Civilian Military Council replaced the Transitional Military Council that took charge in April after General Omar al-Bashir was forced from power following the protests. The Yemeni government forces clashed with the Yemeni separatists in the province of Shabwa in the latest violence between the nominal allies that has strained the Arab military coalition to fight the Houthi rebels in the north. The government had vowed to fight the rebellion led by the separatists who earlier this month took over the Aden port, and last week they extended the control to neighboring Gabian. A government spokesman said that widening the armed rebellion to Shabwa is an obvious challenge to the Arab alliance's efforts to restore calm and contain the crisis. Turkey said that the Syrian army attacks in Syria are causing a humanitarian crisis and threaten the Turkish national security. Earlier, the Syrian troops have seized the pocket of territory and encircled the rebels and advanced on a Turkish military post, reclaiming towns that they lost early in the war. Damascus said it is opening a corridor for the civilians to leave areas controlled by the rebels in Hama and the countryside of Idlib. The announcement came a day after the government forces recaptured the Idlib province town of Khan Sheikhoun from the terrorists and the allied rebels. Ahead of a G7 meeting, French President Emmanuel Macron held talks with the Iranian foreign minister on the Iranian contested nuclear program. France chairs a 3-day summit of the leaders of the Group of 7, the G7 countries, including the American President Donald Trump, on August 24th. The discussions between Mohammad Javad Zarif and Macron come at a critical time for relations between Tehran and the West, as Iran ramps up the nuclear program in response to Trump's decision to pull out of the 2015 deal over the atomic drive. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered a like-for-like response to the recent American missile test, which he said showed that Washington aimed to deploy previously banned missiles around the world. The Pentagon said it had tested a cruise missile that hit the target after more than 500 kilometers of flight, the first such test since the demise of a landmark nuclear pact this month. Putin told the Security Council on Friday that Russia could not stand idly by and that the U.S. talk of deploying new missiles in the Asia-Pacific region affects the core interests as it is close to the Russian borders. Hong Kong braced for the multiple anti-government demonstrations and the stress test of the airport this weekend, as weeks of protest in the city showed no signs of let-up amid rising tension between China and some Western nations. The airport was forced to close last week, and hundreds of flights were cancelled or rescheduled when protesters and the police clashed. Hong Kong's High Court extended an order restricting the protests at the airport. Some activists had apologized for last week's airport turmoil. Welcome back. The Egyptian textile exports to the European and the Arab countries increased in the period from January to June 2019 by 21.5% to reach $130 million, compared to $93 million in the same period a year earlier. An organization representing the Egyptian textile industry released a report showing that the European Union imports nearly 27% of the Egyptian production of textile, and Algeria and Saudi Arabia came second with 26.5%, and the other world countries grabbed 46.4% of the Egyptian textile production. Financial and banking institutions welcomed yesterday's decision by the Central Bank of Egypt to cut the interest rates by 1.5%, reiterating that such a decision came as a result of the economic reforms adopted by the government and the remarkable decline in the inflation rates. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee announced that the overnight deposit rate will be at 14.25%, and the overnight lending rate will be at 15.25%. The decision to cut the interest rate is the first since last February. And the oil prices started during today's dealings on the track for a weekly gain. Brent crude oil was flat at $59.90 a barrel, while the American crude futures were marginally higher at $55.42 a barrel. As for the other commodities, the gold eased and was set for the worst week in nearly 5 months. Spot gold was down 0.2% at $1,495 an ounce. The Egyptian mission to the African Games held in Morocco continues to top the medal tables, securing 50 different medals by the wrap-up of Thursday's games. So far, the Egyptian athletes won 14 golden medals, 20 silver, and 16 bronze medals. The tournament that started on August the 20th and runs through the 31st, with 54 African countries participating. In Finland, Egypt's Azmi Mehelba took the bronze medal in the International Shooting Sport Federation Shotgun World Cup. With 46 points, Mehelba claimed the men's ski third title after the Italian Luigi Lodi and the French Eric Delaunay. Mehelba's win secures the participation at the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. And Egypt's Al Ahly will meet the South Sudanese team Itla Barra in the round of 64 of the African Champions League at Burj Al Arab Stadium. Al Ahly have already qualified to the round of 32 after winning the first leg 4-0. Al Ahly will face Kano Sport Team of Equatorial Guinea and Mekali Intarta of Ethiopia in the round of 32 of the championship. And this brings us to the end of Egypt News for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.